Your task is not to seek for love, but to find the barriers within yourself that you've built against it. Rumi. Picture this. You open a dating app, and instead of swiping right on someone else, you swipe right on becoming the better version of yourself. How would that change the way you show up? Today, our dating culture runs on quick swipes and fast decisions. We move from one profile to the next, hoping the right match will appear. But in all that searching, we're so focused on finding the right person that we rarely stop to ask if we're actually ready to be one. This matters because today we feel more disconnected than ever. Ghosting has become routine, conversations stay on the surface, and a lot of us leave dates feeling confused or drained instead of understood. The issue isn't only the apps, it's the mindset we bring into them. Many of us go in without a clear sense of who we are, what we want, or what we're ready to give. And so in this video, we're going to talk about what it really means to choose yourself first to help you approach your dating life in a stronger, healthier way. Now, just to be clear, we're not against dating apps or modern ways of meeting people. It's just about using them from a place where you've already chosen yourself first. Hi, my name's Dan, and I'm the voice behind Philosophies for Life. Over the years, we've done our best to bring you ideas and stories that help you grow. But now we're taking things a step further by talking more openly about real-life issues and exploring the deeper layers of philosophy and psychology. That said, we've noticed that only about 22% of the people who watch our videos are actually subscribed. So to you guys, thank you so much for being here. As for the other 78%, if you enjoy our content, obviously thank you to you too, but please do consider subscribing and pressing the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. With that said, let's get back to the video. For most of human history, relationships were shaped by the basic need to survive. The world was harsh, and people depended on each other in very direct ways. In early human tribes, like the kind described in the book Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, choosing a partner was simple, but not in the romantic way we think of today. Men usually hunted, women usually gathered, but the roles weren't strict. Everyone did what they could to help the group protect the tribe and raise children. Relationships were based on strength, cooperation, and steady contribution more than anything else. Then humans shifted into farming and agriculture. Farming demanded routine, long hours of work, and protection of land. This is when gender roles became more rigid. Men worked the fields and handled physical labor. Women managed the home, preserved food, and raised children. Marriage became tied to property, stability, and survival. If you fulfilled your expected role, you were considered a good match. This continued through medieval and traditional societies. People usually married within their social group. Family expectations, reputation, and duty shaped relationships. Roles were clear, and most people didn't question them. You chose someone who fit the life society expected you to live. Even in the early to mid-1900s, things were still mostly the same. Men were expected to earn, to provide, and women were expected to run the home. It made finding a partner more predictable. Maybe not happier, but at least everyone knew what their role was. But the 21st century is very, very different. Society in much of the world today is more liberal and open than at any other time in our history. Women have more career options, independence and financial freedom. Men and women are no longer limited to traditional roles, and virtually everyone has the freedom to shape their own path. With technology, global communication, and now AI as well, we can learn anything, create anything, explore any idea, and reinvent ourselves in ways that were completely impossible just a couple of decades ago. This level of freedom is rare in the story of humanity. It's a privilege. In many ways, now truly is the best time to be alive. For the first time, we have the time and freedom to look inward, to ask questions about meaning, purpose, and what they truly want from life. We're not just asking, who should I be with? We're asking, who am I? We don't need someone to hunt for us, gather food, defend a village, or maintain a specific household role. We choose based on compatibility, identity, and shared values. This makes modern dating personal, deeply personal, because who we choose now reflects who we are, not who society tells us to be. We're looking for someone who fits us, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, someone who aligns with who we're growing into. And that's why choosing yourself first matters so much. You need to understand your values, your flaws, your strengths, your goals, and the parts of you still growing. Your relationship with yourself sets the foundation for every other relationship that follows. Dating apps were made to help people meet, and in plenty of ways they absolutely still do that. But somewhere along the way, they turned into a kind of distraction. People started worrying more about the perfect photo or a clever line than the actual connection behind it. For most of human history, building relationships took real effort. Early communities survived through shared work, and you had to show up. You worked together, talked face to face, relied on each other. Even if the setups weren't ideal, there was an understanding. You were involved in other people's lives. Even not that long ago, meeting someone meant going out, taking a chance, talking to someone in person, and following through. You couldn't avoid effort. It was part of the whole process. Now, a lot of that has faded. Modern dating, thanks to these apps, gives us shortcuts. We can meet more people in an hour than past generations met in a year, all without moving from the couch. You swipe, message for a bit, and disappear before anything has time to matter. Dating today has turned quick and visual, almost like pulling a lever on a slot machine. It's endless options, endless scrolling. And that illusion of having so many choices changed not only how we date, but how we see ourselves. Likes, matches, swipes, they became a part of how we measure our value. A like feels good for a moment. A match feels like validation. A swipe feels personal, even though it isn't really. Slowly, the whole thing shifts from, do I actually like this person, to, do they like me enough to give me that little boost? Our profiles are like small advertisements. We wait for strangers to tell us something about our value, even though their reactions have nothing to do with who we really are. The feeling doesn't last, so we check again and again, falling into a loop where attention takes the place of connection. And in that loop, we chase the feeling of being wanted instead of asking if someone fits our life, our values, or our future. Erich Fromm, a psychologist and social philosopher known for the art of loving, once said that love is a skill, something we grow into. But when dating revolves around quick reactions and snap judgments, we lose that sense of growth. We start looking for shortcuts. We hope that someone else will complete us instead of working on the parts of ourselves that need care. This is why modern dating feels so empty. Not because people don't care, or because good partners don't exist, but because our worth is being measured by things never meant to define us in the first place. When you're focused on getting validation, you start to ignore those red flags. You settle for surface-level conversations. You take rejection personally, and you mistake someone paying attention to you for actual compatibility. Love starts feeling thin when you expect another person to fill the space you don't want to face in yourself. And if you slow down long enough, you might just see that the emptiness you feel isn't just coming from the people you meet. A lot of it comes from the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. So you do what you can to dodge these feelings. Sometimes that means lowering your standards so you don't have to deal with being by yourself. Sometimes it means depending on one person's attention just to feel steady. And sometimes it means accepting the smallest effort, just enough to keep you from walking away, but never enough to build something real. As author Stephen Chbosky, known for The Perks of Being a Wallflower, puts it, we accept the love we think we deserve. You don't attract what you imagine or wish for. You attract what you embody. Your habits, your boundaries, your confidence, and your sense of self-respect all shape the kind of people who come into your life. And that's why choosing yourself is necessary. It keeps you grounded. It helps you show up as someone who knows their worth, and it draws people who are interested in who you truly are, not the image you feel pressured to maintain. This is the point where real connection starts to replace the need for approval. Socrates once said, "Know thyself," and the idea still applies today. When you don't understand your own habits, your reactions end up running the show. In dating, that might mean chasing people who don't choose you, pulling away from someone who treats you well, or confusing emotional highs for real connection. A helpful place to start is by understanding your attachment style. Attachment theory, developed by Bowlby and Ainsworth, explains how our early experiences shape the way we connect with people as adults. Here are a few attachment patterns that can cause problems. 1. Anxious attachment. It means for you, closeness feels good and distance feels stressful. You might look for constant reassurance, worry when someone takes a little longer to respond, or take small changes personally. For example, someone you're dating replies later than usual. Instead of assuming they were busy, you jump to worst-case scenarios. You might double text or feel anxious. This isn't you being dramatic. It's your nervous system trying to protect you. 2. Avoidant attachment. This means for you, your independence feels safer than getting too close. You might pull back when someone wants more intimacy, get irritated when a partner has needs, or focus on flaws to create space. For example, you meet someone steady and caring. Instead of feeling comfortable, you feel crowded. You start noticing tiny things that bother you and use them as reasons to hold back. It's not that you don't like them, it just feels safer to keep your distance. 3. Fearful avoidant attachment. It means you want connection, but feel unsure how to manage it. You might get close and then suddenly pull away. Fear rejection, but also fear losing your independence. Or you might bounce between anxious and avoidant behaviours. For example, you like someone, but opening up feels risky. You share something personal one day. Then the next day you feel exposed and pull back. The mixed feelings come from old patterns you didn't choose. Knowing your attachment style helps you understand why you react the way you do. When you can name the pattern, whether it's worry, distance, or both, you can pause instead of getting swept up in it. And that pause gives you the space you need to make choices that actually match what you want. Knowing yourself gives you a real starting point, and change grows from there. Then we have the philosophy of Taoism, which shows us the value of letting things unfold naturally. Lao Tzu said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Forcing connection, chasing someone, performing, or trying to convince them, usually disrupts what could happen naturally. By practicing Wu Wei, or non-forcing, you show up honestly and let things develop at their own pace. You relax and become more of your real self. Existentialism focuses on personal responsibility. Sartre wrote, "Man is condemned to be free. No one can live your life for you. When you ignore your needs, settle for less, or shape yourself to fit someone else, you're avoiding your own freedom." Existentialism reminds you that meaning comes from your choices, not from anyone else's. Jungian psychology takes this deeper. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Hidden fears, insecurity, and old wounds influence who you choose and how you behave. Choosing yourself means noticing these parts, understanding what they protect, and seeing how they shape your reactions. Awareness helps you relate to others from clarity, not old pain. Humanist psychology brings all of this into a single practice, known as self-compassion. Psychologist Carl Rogers said, "When I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." When you accept your feelings, honour your boundaries, and treat yourself as someone worth caring for, you naturally let go of approval seeking. You stop settling, you stop pretending, and you begin to show up as your authentic self. From that place, choosing yourself stops sounding selfish and starts becoming the foundation for healthy connection, where dating becomes less about validation and more about two whole people meeting each other honestly. It starts with honest reflection. Ask yourself, am I really looking for connection, or just trying to soothe a moment of loneliness? That moment of honesty already shifts how you approach dating and relationships. From there, build small, steady habits that can remind you you're worth investing in. This could be a morning walk, meditating, cooking for yourself, or keeping one simple promise each day. Most importantly, quit any negative habits you think you have that's pulling you away from loving yourself. These routines create a strong character that doesn't crumble if someone doesn't text back. As your character grows, boundaries start to feel natural. Every clear no becomes a choice, a way of taking ownership of your life. As Sartre would say, emotional strength comes from therapy, from being mindful of your surroundings, learning to enjoy your own company and journaling so your thoughts have a safe space. You start loosening your grip on outcomes and letting connections unfold naturally, just as Taoism teaches. Open, patient, and without forcing. Healing old wounds is a very important part here. This includes repairing your relationship with your parents, because the way caregivers respond to a child shapes attachment patterns in adulthood. If your needs for comfort or attention weren't met consistently, you may have learned to cling, withdraw, or fear closeness. Carl Rogers and other humanistic psychologists suggest that healing can begin by understanding your parents' perspective, setting healthy boundaries, and having honest conversations where possible. Doing this helps you recognize old patterns and respond from a place of confidence and security in relationships, rather than repeating old fears or unmet needs. You also start building a life that feels like yours. Reconnect with people in real life, learn new skills, join communities, or try activities that make you feel alive. Maybe dance. Nietzsche said, we should consider every day lost on which we have not danced at least once. Over time, doing these things help you to develop secure attachments, the ability to connect with others without losing yourself. Choosing yourself stops being about waiting for someone else's love and starts being about building a life that naturally makes space for it. One of the biggest barriers people face is the belief that they need someone else to complete them. It's a comforting idea, but it starts with the assumption that you're missing something. You're not. You're already whole. A relationship can add to your life, but it doesn't define you or finish you. When you rely on someone else to fill the empty parts inside you, you end up making yourself smaller just to keep them close. But when you see yourself as complete, connection becomes something you share, not something you need in order to feel worthy. Another common fear is that focusing on yourself will leave you single forever, as if healing means people will lose interest. The reality is the complete opposite. As you grow, you stop attaching yourself to anyone who gives you a little attention, and you start choosing people who actually match who you're becoming. You become more attractive, not because you're trying harder, but because self-awareness naturally draws people in who value the same things. And with that comes a different kind of selectiveness, not based on fear, but one based on clarity. Then there's the fear of being alone. A lot of people avoid their own company because being alone makes the uncomfortable parts of them come to the surface. But loneliness and aloneness aren't the same. Loneliness is the feeling that something is missing. Aloneness is simply being with yourself without distraction. When you get comfortable with that space, you stop clinging to people out of fear. You choose connection because you want it, not because you're trying to fill a void. Trauma and low self-esteem create another barrier. Healing can feel slow and unclear, and it's easy to assume your past makes you unlovable. It doesn't. Your history doesn't take you out of the running. Healing isn't about putting your life on hold. It's about moving forward intentionally. The work you're doing, whether through therapy, reflection, or learning to trust yourself again, shapes you into someone capable of deeper, healthier connection. And then there's the pressure from society. The timelines, the expectations, the comparisons. It can make you feel behind, as if relationships follow some kind of schedule you've failed to meet at some point. But you're not late. Love doesn't run on a clock, and neither does your life. Many meaningful relationships begin later than expected, often at the moment you've grown into the person you were always meant to be. When you stop chasing people, you start attracting the right ones. When you stop looking for approval, people naturally respect you more. And when you choose yourself, the people who are right for you will choose you too. It connects back to the earlier metaphor. The moment you swipe right on yourself, genuinely, you start to notice that people who are meant for you have been looking for someone who already made that choice for themselves. But while you're working on yourself, also be kind to yourself. Progress takes time. You will mess up, backtrack, repeat old patterns, and sometimes feel like you're not moving at all. And that's normal. Get up again. Keep going. Growth isn't clean or perfect. And don't avoid relationships altogether until you fix everything. There's no perfect version of you waiting somewhere in the future. Improvement happens one small step at a time. What matters most is showing up honestly, communicating clearly, and finding someone who can hold that space with you. Someone who grows with you, not someone you perform for. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out our full Philosophies for Life playlist. And for more videos to help you find success and happiness using beautiful philosophical wisdom, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.